Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States and the Prime Minister of Japan.
Thank you very much, everybody. Please, we have a very special person with us tonight, an amazing person. Tonight, I'm delighted to welcome a great friend and partner for her very first visit to the White House. We've become very close, so close that I endorsed her for her election. And she did well. She got the highest number ever gotten by somebody running for the highest position in Japan, beating out a lot of our friends, and it's a tremendous tribute. And that's our really amazing friend, the Japanese Prime Minister, who's going to speak in just a few minutes, but we're very honored to have you with us tonight. Thank you.
私は最近この選挙において応援のメッセージを送ったんですけども、そこで高市総理は圧巻の勝利を示したということで、それも称えさせていただきたいと思います。
And I want to congratulate the Prime Minister on that unbelievable, all over the world they were talking about it, that victory in last month's election, winning by numbers that, as I said, nobody's ever seen in Japan before.
でまた世界中でもこれは大きな話題となり、高市総理ほどその票を獲得した人は今までいなかったと話題になりました。
And this was not only an amazing political achievement, it was a resounding declaration of strength and confidence, national spirit and resolve straight from the Japanese people who love you.
でまたこの勝利なんですけども、歴史上最大過半数を獲得したということで、これは圧巻の政治的な成果のみならず、力強さ、自信、国の精神と決心というものを国民から勝ち取ったという、これを宣言する結果となりました。
And the Prime Minister's visit comes as we're just days away from the most beautiful season here in Washington, which, by the way, is a crime-free city, just about. And we're very proud of that. We have done a great job, and it's a very safe place that people are coming to in record numbers. And the blooming of the Japanese cherry blossom trees is something very special. For more than a century, this magnificent explosion of pink and white has graced America's capital. I mean, it's been something that really represents Washington so well as a living symbol of the cherished friendships between two of our world's most extraordinary nations.
また総理はちょうど最も美しい時期にここ DC を訪問されています。これは日本の桜の木が満開間近になる時期であります。そしてここで加えさせていただきたいのが、今ここでの DC での犯罪率ゼロということで、非常に安全な場所になっていて、観光客もかなり記録的な数になっています。そして100年以上なんですけども、この桜の木というその爆発的な彩りですね、これを私たちは鑑賞することができました。これは日米の友情の生きている証、象徴であると思います。
And this year we're honored to receive an additional 250 cherry trees, and they're very big, beautiful trees from the great people of Japan in recognition of America's 250th anniversary. And they will remind every future generation of our timeless bond, and they'll be planted near and around the Washington Monument, and it's going to be something very special. They've already started the planting, but it's 250 beautiful specimen trees, and we'll get you over here. We'll check them out after they're planted. We'll get you back.
でまた 今年はアメリカ建国250周年記念ということで、日本からさらに250本の桜の木を寄付していただいています。これは未来の世代にも永遠の私たちの絆を思い起こさせるものになることでしょう。これからワシントンモニュメント、またこの近隣で植樹をする予定ですけれども、それが実際に植樹された後に確認をしてまいります。
Americans and Japanese come from opposite sides of the globe, but since the earliest days of commerce between our two countries, we've always recognized that despite obvious differences, we share a great deal in common.
また、日米なんですけれども、地球上、全く反対の場所にありますが、昔ながら、その通商というものを行ってまいりました。違いはあれど共通するものも多くあるということが言えます。
Both of our civilizations have been defined and propelled by proud cultures deeply committed to excellence, hard work, and pushing the frontiers of what is possible. That's why in every field, human endeavors from so many different sides of the planet, from medicine to music, from art to engineering, you find that Americans and Japanese are leading the way, always leading the way.
また日米の文明なんですけれども、共通するというものは私たちが各々の文化に対して誇りを持っているということ、常に最高を目指すという精神、勤勉であり、また可能性のあるものに対して追求をやめないというところが共通してあります。だからこそ日本とアメリカは医療、音楽、芸術、エンジニアリング、さまざまな分野において世界を牽引しているのです。
These shared traits and values have transcended every trial, history, and you look no matter where you go, you see this, and ultimately made our nations into strong allies and very close friends. Our partnership has made both the United States and Japan stronger, freer, and more successful than virtually any other nation on the planet. And under the leadership of the Prime Minister and myself, I know we will soon make that partnership even stronger and better than ever before. We have that relationship, and actually it started quite a while ago.
また私たちが共通する特性というものは、私たちが経験してきた試練をも乗り越えられるほどのものでした。だからこそ私たちの同盟はさらに強く、また緊密な関係を今構築できているわけです。日米のパートナーシップのもと、私たちはより強く自由で成功する国となることができました。高市総理と私のリーダーシップで、これからさらにこの関係を強くできるということを確信しています。
On my visit to Tokyo last year, we reached a historic trade deal that will increase our cooperation on everything from energy to semiconductors and shipbuilding and pharmaceuticals. It was a big one of the biggest deals ever made. The United States is also encouraged to see the steps the Prime Minister is taking to expand her country's commitment to its own security and defense, and buying a lot of our defense equipment, I'm happy to tell you.
また、昨年私が東京を訪問した際に大きな取引を日本と交わしました。ここでエネルギー、半導体、造船、医療に関して協力を拡大するという、最も大きな取引でありました。またそれに加えて今日本が取り組んでいる、高市総理が取り組んでいる自国の防衛安全保障、この進化、強化に取り組んでいることを心強く思っており、そういった面では防衛装備品というものを多く購入していただいていることにも、嬉しく思っております。
So just to close up with the commitment of the leaders and the biggest leaders in the country, some of the most successful people in the country, politically and business-wise, and all of the partners in the room, the United States and Japan can be an unstoppable force for freedom, security, and progress for our countries and for the entire world to look up to. So let us stand together with the strength and dignity, purpose. Let us keep our people safe, our nations prospering, and our alliance flourishing for many, many generations to come. And with that, I'd just like to thank the Prime Minister. This is a spectacular woman, and it's an honor to have you with us at the White House. Thank you.
リーダー、パートナーの皆様たち、 この世界を代表する、力を持っている政治家、ビジネスリーダーの方が多くいます。彼らの、コミットメントのもと、日米で自由、安保、国の成長というものを日米のみならず世界にももたらすことができ、私たちは止められない勢力になるということを私は確信しております。ですので、互いに力、尊厳、そして、その意思というものを持って共に立ち並びましょう。そして安全、国の繁栄、同盟の繁栄、増進に向けて取り組んでいきたいと思います。では次に高市総理の方からもお言葉を頂戴したいと思います。
トランプ大統領、ご列席の、皆様、はじめにこのビューティフルディナーを開催していただいたことに心から感謝をいたします。
The Honorable President Donald J. Trump, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to take this opportunity to express my deepest gratitude for hosting such a beautiful dinner for me and my delegation.
ドナルドの日本への温かい思いや友情に改めてありがとうございます。
Donald, thank you very much for your warm feelings toward Japan and your friendship.
私からは今宵2つのアニバーサリーにお祝いの言葉をお伝えしたいと思います。
So tonight, I would like to start off by extending my sincere congratulations on two important anniversaries.
一つ目は、明日に控えるドナルドのご子息のバロンさんのお誕生日です。立派でイケメンに成長されていると伺っております。
The first one is a birthday celebration. Donald, tomorrow is the birthday of your son, Mr. Baron Trump. And I know he has grown up so much into a very tall, good-looking gentleman.
間違いなくご両親に似たんだと思います。
As I see you, Donald, it is very clear where he got it. Of course, from his parents, there's no doubt about it.
ぜひ私からのハッピーバースデーを、お伝えいただけたら嬉しいです。
So, Donald, if I may ask you, please convey my sincere happy birthday wishes to him.
そして2つ目、はもうさっきドナルドが喋っちゃったんですが、アメリカ建国、250周年を、今年自由と民主主義の理念を世界に示してきたアメリカがその歴史的節目を迎えるということに日本政府および日本国民を代表して心からお喜び申し上げます。
The second one is the 250th anniversary of the United States, as you mentioned. The United States has long been an icon of freedom and democracy in the world, and this year, the United States is marking a historic milestone. And on behalf of the government and the people of Japan, I would like to extend my deepest congratulations to you and the American people.
そして、8月には250周年を祝う、インディカーレースが、このドナルドの、発案で、ここワシントン DC で開催されると伺っています。
And I understand that in August this year, at Donald's suggestion, IndyCar race, Freedom 250 Grand Prix, will be held here in Washington, D.C.
美しいナショナルモールを絞れと、日本のホンダのエンジンが爆走します。
This race will bring roaring Chevrolet and Honda engines to the National Mall.
そして、インディカーの冠スポンサーは日本企業の NTT でありまして、まさに日米友好のシンボルです。
In addition, Japan's NTT Group has been a title sponsor of the IndyCar series. As you see, IndyCar race is a perfect example of the friendship between Japan and the United States.
偉大なレースの大成功をお祈りします。
So I do hope that you have a huge success at this racing event.
さて、ワシントン DC では日本の桜が長年春の訪れを知らせるとともに日米友好の歴史を体現してきました。
Speaking of our friendship, here in Washington, D.C., Japanese sakura, or cherry trees, have long been letting us know the arrival of spring, and also it has been a symbol of the history of Japan-U.S. friendship.
これもドナルドがさっき喋っちゃったんですが、今年日本からワシントン DC に250本の桜をプレゼントして250年を祝います。
And this is also something that Donald already mentioned, but I would like to reiterate. This year, Japan extends a gift of additional 250 cherry trees to Washington, D.C. to celebrate America 250.
本当は桜の花束を抱えて、ドナルド、Nice to see you again ってやりたかったんですけれども、米国は検疫が厳しくていきなり花を持ち込めないってことに気がつきました。
Actually, my original plan was to bring so many cherry flowers and directly hand it to you, Donald. But unfortunately, because of the very strict quarantine measures, that I couldn't make this happen.
強い日本、強いアメリカ、豊かな日本、豊かなアメリカ、私たちはこれらを実現するための最強のバディだと確信しています。
A stronger Japan and a stronger America. A more prosperous Japan and a more prosperous America. I am very confident that Donald and I are the best buddies to realize this shared goal.
でドナルドと親交が深かった安倍晋三元総理がかつてこのワシントン DC の地で高らかに歌われた言葉を誇りと自信を持ってこの場で皆さんに再びお伝えいたします。
Late Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, who was Donald's dear friend and also my dear friend too, eloquently said one phrase here in Washington, D.C. upon his visit. And as I stand here today, I would like to repeat what he said with greater pride and confidence.
Japan is back! So, 日本は再び世界のイノベーションをリードします。そして新しい日本は世界の平和により一層大きな役割を果たしていきます。
Japan once again will lead the innovation in the world, and the new Japan stands ready to play an even greater role for world's peace.
日本はこの道のりをドナルドと、そしてアメリカ国民の皆様と共に歩んでまいります。
Japan will continue to walk on such path together with Donald and together with the American people.
希望と強さを兼ね備えた日米同盟の新たな歴史の1ページを一緒に作っていこうではありませんか。Thank you.
Let us together create a new chapter in the history of Japan-U.S. alliance, a chapter filled with hope and strength. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States, Donald J. Trump.
Well, thank you very much. These are exciting times. I think you probably want to speak about war rather than this, but this is very important. This is very important, and we're doing very well on the war front, to put it mildly, I would say. Somebody said, on a scale of 10, where would you rate it? I said about a 15. And we're going to continue to do well. We have the greatest military in the world by far. And that was a tremendous threat to us for many years. 47 years they've been killing our people and killing people from all over the world. And I think we have great support. And I think if we didn't do it first, they would have done it to Israel and give us a shot if that was possible. And if we didn't terminate the worst deal, one of the worst deals ever made, the Obama nuclear deal, I call it the Obama nuclear deal, where he gave everything to Iran, including a nuclear weapon. It was a road to a nuclear weapon. Bad things would have happened 4 years ago, because they would have had a weapon 4 years ago if I didn't terminate that deal. So we're in a very strong position now, and their leadership is just rapidly going. Everybody that seems to want to be a leader, they end up dead. And it's an amazing thing that's taking place before your eyes, because for 47 years we were pushed around, and we shouldn't have been. And I think I can say, and you see it as well as I do, you see the tremendous progress that's being made. Their missiles are being wiped out rapidly. Their launchers are being wiped out. They're attacking their neighbors. They're attacking their, in some cases, allies, or not so long ago allies. And, you know, it's really a nation that was out of control, and they would have used it on us if we let them, if we waited any longer. A big factor was Soleimani, the killing of Soleimani in my first term. And maybe the biggest factor was the rebuilding of the military in my first term. And then the B-2s hit the, and I use the word obliterate because it really was, it was a complete obliteration of their nuclear potential. And that set them back very, very seriously. If we didn't hit within 2 weeks, they would have had a nuclear weapon. If we didn't do the B-2 attack a number of months ago, they would have a nuclear weapon. And when crazy people have nuclear weapons, bad things happen. So we're in very good shape now. I want to let you know that, and we will continue forward. But it's a great display of military strength, and I'm very proud to have, with some of the people in the room, both senators and congressmen, we rebuilt, and women, we rebuilt our military during the first term, and we're using it a little bit more than I thought we would have to. Venezuela worked out really great. We have a wonderful relationship with the president and the various representatives, and we're taking out hundreds of millions of barrels of oil, and that goes to our benefit and to Venezuela's benefit. They'll be doing better than they've ever done before, and we will get a big piece of that, and we'll also make life wonderful for the people of Venezuela who have been very, very badly hit. So that's a lot said in a short period of time, but you can witness it for yourself. And now we'll get on to something that I'm very proud of, because it was sort of my idea, like
Very much so.
Build your own power plant. And everybody thought I was kidding. They said, really, you can do that? How would you do that? I said, we'll get you fast permits, and you'll build your own plants, but we're going to discuss it in great detail with the biggest people in the industry and some of our great leaders and senators. And congratulations on the Medal of Honor for your 100-year soldier. You know, 100 years old, 101 to be exact. And Daryl's been fighting that he get the Congressional Medal of Honor for many years, Daryl, right?
Mr. President, I give you all the credit for overcoming the lawyers in the Department of the Navy in a way that I thought was amazing.
Yeah.
And
Well,
nobody
we didn't
could have done
too
it but
long to
you.
go. Maybe it'll be a long. We had to get it to him a little bit quickly, but he looks like he's in good shape. He's got some years left, right?
He's planning to come back here for your next Medal of Honor ceremony. And,
He'll be
he's also going to be the star at Tailhook this
Right.
summer if you want
Right.
to come to Reno.
Well, I congratulate you for that success. That was amazing. He didn't stop. I've known him a long time. He never stops. So congratulations. It's very nice. We're here this afternoon for a historic signing that will help keep down utility bills very, very substantially, and electricity prices for millions of Americans, and in many cases for a lot of people that don't really understand why they're going up, but they're not going to be going up, they're going to be actually going down. Today we follow through on an announcement I made in my State of the Union address last week as America's largest tech companies officially signed the Ratepayer Protection Pledge. It's a big deal. It's going to have a tremendous impact on electricity costs. We're bringing down all of the costs. We have this little interlude to do what we have to do because we had it going, but these interludes are very important, especially this one. But the economy has never been like this. We broke 50,000 on the Dow. People thought we wouldn't do that within the first 4 years. We did it in the first year. And we brought 7 on the S&P, 7,000 on the S&P. They said that's even less likely to happen. And we did that too, all within the first year. Under this new agreement, big tech companies are committing to fully cover the cost of increased electricity production required for AI data centers, and that would be prices for American communities will not go up, but in many cases will actually come down and very substantially. Because, you know, the data centers, and you people are so big, you're the biggest in the world, but they've developed a little bit of a bad public, they need some PR help, because people think that if a data center goes in, their electricity prices are going to go up, and that's not happening. It's not going to happen. And for the areas where it did happen, it won't happen anymore because they never had this alternative. It's actually going to mean the prices come down. You're going to see how badly they want. Some centers were rejected by communities for that, and now I think it's going to be just the opposite. This means that the tech companies and the data centers will be able to get the electricity they need, all without driving up electricity costs for consumers. This is a historic win for countless American families, and will also make our electricity grid stronger and more resilient than ever before. So that's part of it. It's going to be strengthened up, and they're going to be getting a lot of excess electricity from the data centers where they build their own plants. They're going to be creating their own electricity. We're pleased to be joined today by Speaker Mike Johnson, who's got a difficult job, but he does it as easy as anybody I've ever seen do that job. It's never easy when you have a majority of 2, or sometimes less. I was going to say, sometimes less, but he's amazing. And Energy Secretary Chris Wright, who's worked so hard, and Senators Katie Britt, Bernie Moreno, John Husted. Thank you, everybody. Really great. Thanks, Katie. Representative Darrell Issa and Derek Van Orden. Thank you both. And Derek, thank you. Nice to see you. OSTP Director Michael Kratsios, AI and crypto czar David Sachs, as well as the commissioners of the Federal Energy Regulation and Regulatory Commission, and an audience. In the audience, you have Laura Sweat, David Rosner, Lindsay C., and Judy Chang, all very well-known people, especially in this group of geniuses. We have a lot of geniuses here, and a lot of geniuses that are also very strong people representing labor. We love labor. We love these guys. I also want to recognize the industry leaders here to sign the pledge, and this is a pledge that's going to be a very important pledge to the country and to their companies also. They benefit also very substantially, including President of Google, Ruth Porat. That's a good company. That's big stuff. Google, that's, you know, it used to be U.S. Steel and things like that. Now it's Google and other places. President of Meta, Dina Powell, who was with me. Dina Powell was with me for a long time, and I called up Mark and I said, congratulations, that was a good hire, right? That was a good hire. She's fantastic, and her husband is fantastic. He's a great senator, and he ran in a place called Pennsylvania, and he ran against somebody that was very tough to win. It was very, very tough to win, and he won pretty easily, actually. People were shocked. I wasn't, you and I weren't surprised, were we? But he's a spectacular man. President of Microsoft, Brad Smith. Thank you, Brad. It's good to see you. Microsoft is unbelievable. COO of OpenAI, Brad Lightcap. Brad, where are you, Brad? Brad, you're so young. Look at how young. I think you have to be young in that world, perhaps. Thank you, Brad. CEO of Amazon Web Services, Matt Garman. Matt, thank you, Matt. Very well. Say hello to my friend, right? Doing a good job. CEO of Oracle, Clay Mooskwerk. Mooskwerk. Is that fairly good? I don't know. I'm not sure. I usually don't. I just go right over it and I say Mooskwerk. But how are you? Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
I give you a hard job. It's a hard name. You did good. You did well for the difficulty of that name.
That's right. I think so. Thank you very much. And Gwen Shortwell, Gwen Shortwell of XAI, another real leader. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. And say hello, right, to a special person. The last administration, their allies in Congress gave us the worst inflation in, I say, the history of our country, but they say 48 years. So I'll take either one. It doesn't matter. The press gets very upset when I say in the history of our country. They get very angry about it, actually. They say it was only 48 years. I say, you know, in some ways 48 years sounds worse because it's very specific. But it sounds a little worse. But either way, take either one. And the ruinous energy policies were a big reason why many working families' utility bills increased more than 30% during the Biden administration, the worst administration in the history of our country. That's why on day one I declared a national energy emergency. We had no choice but to do that, and signed an executive order to dramatically accelerate construction of new energy infrastructure, which we are doing at record numbers. And we're rapidly bringing down those costs, very rapidly. We inherited a mess. I say it all the time. We inherited a total mess. And in many cases, we've fixed it, but we're fixing it. And we'll always be fixing it. We're going to make it better and better and better. Many Americans are still concerned that the massive energy demand from AI data centers could drive up their electricity bills in the future, and we understand that. By 2035, energy demand is expected to more than triple. Can you believe it? A lot of it is AI, and it's also all these big plants that are being built all over the country. They're coming in from Canada and Mexico, from Germany, from Japan, from South Korea. They're all coming here to build cars again. You know, we lost 54% of our car industry because we had presidents that, honestly, on trade and business, they didn't know what the hell they were doing. I could say the same thing for the chip industry. We lost the chip industry, but it's all coming back. You could have stopped it so easy. All you would have had to do is put a charge or a tariff on. If you wanted to leave the United States, that's fine. You can go to Taiwan or anywhere you want. But if you're going to make your product and sell it back in here, you're going to pay 100% or 200 or 300% tariff. And nobody would have ever left. But they missed that opportunity. But it's not going to matter now because it's all coming. They're all coming back. By 2035, energy demand is expected to more than triple. Under the Ratepayer Protection Pledge, we're signing today, the big tech companies are making 5 important commitments to keep utility prices down for American consumers. First, these companies are committing to provide or pay for all power generation and electricity needed for their AI projects, which is massive. And where possible, they'll add capacity to the grid by building new power stations. So they're going to be making their own electricity. They're not going to be taking from the grid, and they will actually probably, based on what I'm seeing, they're building overcapacity, and they'll be able to sell that overcapacity at very low prices into the grid. In addition to that, we're fixing the grid. Now, if we didn't do this, this was, I believe, I don't know, nobody's going to challenge you, won't challenge me. I think this was my idea. I said, wait a minute, we can't, when I first got involved with AI, they said, we will need triple the energy. Think of this, triple the energy of what we have now. Some people said double. I said, whether it's double or triple, that's crazy. And that was just for AI. It is incredible And when you see the buildings we're talking about, you start to understand it. But unless you saw it, buildings that go for miles, buildings that are so big, buildings that cost $60 billion. I said, you mean $60 million? When I first got involved, they said, we're building a $60 billion building. I said, you mean 60 million? 60 million is a big building. It's not that big, but it's pretty big nowadays. They said, no, no, sir, we're going to spend 60 billion, but now it's like 100 billion and 150 billion. And the bottom line, it takes electricity like nobody's ever seen before. And I said, well, with an old grid, even if we fix it really well, which we're in the process of doing, you can't take that and double our electricity. They're going to have to build it themselves. And I told Mark, I actually told Mark, I told Elon, I told people, and nobody believed me. They said, you're going to let us build our own electricity? Because they've been so used to being beaten down and to have people with no ideas how to solve problems, and then the whole thing fails. It's a whole disaster. They said, no, I'm serious. And in one case, they submitted plans, and they didn't do what I told them. And when I called them, I said, why don't you have your plant here? We thought you were kidding. Are you serious? You really? They couldn't believe it, in a good way. They said, it's too good to be true. And I said, no, it's not. And here's the other thing. You'll have your approvals within 2, 3, or 4 weeks. It used to take 20 years to get it prior to rejection. So in other words, you go 20 years prior to rejection. They'd vote. I've known many plants where they've been, I knew people, they started off young. They were young trying to get approvals for a stupid plant, one plant. Their whole life was devoted to getting this plant. And around 22 years, in one case, 22 years later, he got rejected. I said, that's not good. He wasted, let's say, half of his working life on getting an approval, and he didn't get, now we get it in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks. When I came in originally in my first term, we had 2 big LNG plants in Louisiana. They were in the 14th year of getting approvals, and they had just been rejected. And I got involved. They were tremendous plants. They're up now. They're working beautifully. They built the 3rd one. They're magnificent. I mean, if you like pipes, this is a plant. The whole thing is, you look inside, all it is pipes. I've never seen anything quite like it. It's like lying 2 or 3 Empire State Buildings on their side and doing nothing but putting pipes into it. So I didn't know exactly what it represented. All I knew is this is what they needed. So I got involved. The first one I got done in 1 day. The second one, I was a little bit slower that week, and it took me 1 week. So I got the first one done in 1 day, got fully approved. And when they called up the head, and I didn't want anything. I don't want anything for myself. I want it for the country. When they called up the head of a company like a Microsoft or like any one of the people in this room, but they called up the heads, they said, no, we got rejected. No, you just got approved. It was 1 day and 1 week, and they were built, and they're in your state, by the way, right? Yeah, yes. And they are big. Yes, they are. And they're doing great. Lots of pipes. And there are lots of pipes, right? That's all I noticed. I said, I've never said anything like that. Anyway, so for these companies committing to provide or pay for all power generation electricity needed for their AI projects, where possible, they will add capacity to the grid. They're going to be adding a lot of capacity, and I think it's going to be really, and I've seen some power plants. I'm actually more interested in the power plant than I am in information. I said, where do you make the money for this? They said, information. I said, okay, that's good. That's got to be a lot of information, though, right? And it's turning out to be true. David, it better be true, because you got a big bet. This country has a big bet on it. But it's incredible what they're doing and what they're coming up with. Second, they'll cover the costs of upgrading existing power delivery infrastructure and their energy demand as it requires further investment. So they'll be upgrading existing power delivery infrastructure. They will, third, negotiate separate rate structures with utilities to clearly and cleanly assign them to the costs of new capacity investments and commit to paying even if they do not end up using all of that electricity. They're going to make a commitment. So we're going to have a situation where you're not going to have increased electric bills for homes that are in the area or even outside of the area. And fourth, They'll invest in the local communities where they build and operate, provide workforce development and jobs for skilled Americans like those with us today. We have great skilled people, electricians, engineers, HVAC technicians, server and network technicians, power plant workers, plumbers, welders, and many others, all people that I've hired. All my life I've been hiring you guys, and you've done a great job. I built a lot of buildings, a lot of good ones. And finally, they will use their infrastructure to contribute backup power to local grids during times of need. So they're going to have a lot of backup power. We're going to have a lot of excess. Basically, we're building massive amounts of electricity, and you're not paying for it at all. And the companies want to do it because this way they can, otherwise they couldn't build. I mean, the option really was not about cost. It was about there's no way of possibly taking the old grid and doubling it in a matter of months or years. So in short, America's largest and richest tech companies will be funding a colossal expansion of U.S. energy. We'll have, I read where China is building tremendous energy. I know, you got to respect it. But we're building similar amounts. We're building what we need, and we're building it through the private sector. We're building it through great companies. And I've seen some of the plants that these geniuses, they are real geniuses, are showing, and I say, wow, that's really great. You're really doing things in terms of technology with electricity that, frankly, the standard, wonderful power companies probably aren't going to be getting there. Maybe as you build them, they'll be start. But some of the plants that I've seen, Dina, are absolutely unbelievable. So they're going to be producing massive amounts of electricity and energy. The grid, so the American consumers aren't going to have to even think about it. And your electric costs are going to be going down. Now, unfortunately, it'll take a little time to get there. So they'll say, well, you know, I don't know who's going to follow me, but whoever is going to follow me is going to have some big advantage. You know, it happened with Biden where we got a lot of approvals for things, but they take statutorily a year or 2 years. And I got one on medicine that was good, not as good as favored nations, which we just got. That's 80 and 90% drops, okay? Nobody's going to believe it. But I got one on various medicines, and it was good, but it doesn't kick in for 2 years. I said, I hope I win this election because I'm going to get so much credit. And the election was rigged and stolen. And he stood up there one day getting credit. He didn't even know what the hell he was talking about. He got the credit. He was talking about how he did this, and he had no idea what he was talking about, but we were the ones that got it. And I hate that. So this is going to happen again because somebody's going to be getting a lot of credit into the future. But this is really the pretty current future. This is going to go very quickly. This is going to happen almost immediately. The United States is leading the world in AI by a lot. We're leading China. We're leading everybody by a lot. Without this, you wouldn't even, I don't think you could build, Brad, you couldn't build a plant, right? Without this, I don't think you could, you know, you'd have to rely on the grid, and you wouldn't be able to do that. So the United States is leading by a lot. We're leading everybody. And it's not only, you know, other countries are very much into it. They all want it. But we're going to be dominant in this field, which is very important. In crypto, we want to be dominant. We want to be dominant in everything we do. And this agreement will ensure that America can maintain the most advanced AI infrastructure on the planet without American families being forced to pick up the tab. And that's why the early ones, they hook up to the electric utilities and they can't produce the kind of numbers electric-wise that they want, and they end up raising the rates. It's not going to happen anymore, and now it's going to go the opposite way. They'll make a lot of money, and electric rates, we actually think they're not going to stay. I think they're going to actually, Chris, they're going to actually come down. So your electric bills will actually come down. It'll take a little while, but not long. So this new strategy, never tried before in any country, will pave the way for continued American dominance in energy and technology working together. So you're going to have great energy sources because you're going to build them yourself, and if they're not good, you'll make them a little bit bigger and better, right? But again, a lot of people, it took me 6 months to convince people that I was serious about this, and we have a very big key to what we're doing is Lee Zeldin. He's in charge of the Environmental Department and Energy. And the job he's done is incredible, getting you fast approvals. So some of the plants are starting and they're coming in. I say, Lee, 2 weeks for natural gas. Don't worry about wind. Forget it. It's worthless. You don't get approvals for wind. We don't do wind in this because it's a loser. Except for China, they make all the windmills. You know, China makes all the windmills. The only problem is they don't have wind farms. You ever think somebody's going to have to look at that? How many wind farms have you seen lately in China? They make the windmills. They sell them to the suckers over in Europe. Europe is buying them by the thousands. And I told them for 3 years, this is not going to work out well. And now they're saying I was right. But we are, I say, natural gas, clean, beautiful coal. You know, we don't ever say in the Trump administration you're not allowed to use the word coal unless you precede it by saying clean, beautiful. And Chris made a beautiful speech about 3 weeks ago. And he took me very, very seriously. And every time it was about coal. And every time he mentioned coal, it'd say, clean, beautiful coal, clean, beautiful coal, clean, beautiful. I said, Chris, easy. It sort of stepped in the speech a little bit. It was a little much, but we got the point across. The coal is clean and beautiful. Well, look, it's so many of the nations that are working are using coal, and you can do things with coal today that are incredible in terms of the environment and in terms of cleanliness. But I said 2 weeks for oil and gas, coal, and for nuclear power plant, maybe take 2 or 3 weeks. You can add on an extra week. But Lee Zeldin has done an amazing job in getting you all of the permits that you need, because normally that would take many, many years, and they're already building the plants. They're being built all over the country, and they are incredible. So